Hey everyone, today we're going to be talking about how to begin investing in real estate for those that are just starting out. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe because all my subscribers get access to off-market deals, they get invites to exclusive events, and they get a variety of reports that non-subscribers do not get. So be sure to hit the subscribe button. All right, let's get started. Welcome everyone. Today's a good one. So, man, if I had someone to help me and guide me through the best way to get started in real estate, I would have avoided many mistakes. Okay. So I felt it only fair that I create a video for those of you that are not advanced, not intermediate, but more in the beginning stages of your real estate investing career. Okay. And, I come across a client, every 2 weeks or so that is brand new. They know that real estate investing makes sense. They know they have to get started in real estate investing. They don't really know where to begin, right? And so what I want to bring to you is kind of the honest, candid take on how to get started as a real estate investor, okay? Now, in a previous video, I talked about, okay, well, what if you have no money? What if you are short on capital, but you still want to get started? So if you want to look at that video, check that one out. That's a different take on how to get started with real estate. What I'm going to be talking about today is a few things. I'm assuming that you want to be more of a passive investor. I'm assuming that you have some capital to get started with. And by some capital, I mean somewhere between $35,000 and $50,000 to begin to invest in real estate. With that said, I'm not assuming that you're doing flips. I'm not assuming that you're buying big apartment buildings. And I'm not assuming that you're doing anything super crafty or fancy. This is a more straightforward assumption that you're buying real estate property, high grade quality rentals that will cash flow, okay? I say that because it's a risky move to get started in products that are that take a lot of cleverness in knowing the local codes and laws and how to dip and dive through all those nuances. It's best to keep it simple when you first start. It's the same thing in another episode with Matt Owens. We talked about multifamily or single family. Again, check that episode out. But we talk about why it's probably a false belief to get started in multifamily. Grant Cardone pushes this, and generally where he comes from kind of makes sense. You have bigger upside if you do multifamily, but it's just such a longer equation to figure out, especially when you're first starting out. So keep it simple. You can always resell a single family home, sometime later once you learn the basics of real estate investing. So buy a good deal or a decent deal, learn the ins and outs, learn how to manage it, learn all the terminology, and then begin to scale up, all right? So master your trade and then begin to scale up, okay? So, and again, this game is not a game of home runs or grand slams. It's a game of singles and the occasional double. That's how it works. So with that said, if I were starting out, the advice that I would want to be given comes in the form of a question. And often when I ask my clients, what are you trying to achieve? And how active do you want to be in your investment? For me personally, I like my time. I like going to the gym, being healthy, reading my books, hanging out with my family, doing those sorts of things. So I don't want to be spending a lot of time fixing roofs and chasing down payments and all that. I want a more passive investment. So what does that mean? Okay, so if it were me starting out, this is how I would go about it. I would first understand how much capital do I have, right? I'm going to assume you have, $40,000, okay? And then I would say, okay, well, I want to be in a market that has solid fundamentals, right? And again, in another podcast referring to the stock market, I talk about fundamental analysis versus technical analysis. And fundamentals applies to businesses, it applies to stocks, it applies to real estate, really just the majority of assets, right? You want to have strong fundamentals. So what does that mean, right? I want to find a market, and I have a tool that we do sell, but the tool more or less summarizes this. And I want to find a market that has good schools, access to healthcare. It has population growth, median income growth. It's got GDP growth equal to or greater than the average of the nation. I'm going to see people moving there, right? And I want to see it to be a pro landlord, pro business state. You know, you look at California right now, New York, not a good time to be there, right? With the forbearances and the eviction clauses. You know, that's I've always told my investors, like, be careful of it, you know, investing in those states. They're not landlord friendly. And, you know, thank God I've always invested in landlord friendly states. It's been a blessing, you know. So again, you want pro landlord states, not pro tenant states. And again, so if your market has good fundamentals, if it's growth, if it's pro growth, pro business, you know, generally low taxes, but also good schools and low crime with a lot of growth factors, that's a good recipe for long-term appreciation. Okay. And again, your thought in your mind should be to hold this property at least 5-7 years. Okay. You're not going to buy it, flip it in a year, and pay the extra taxes on your capital gains. You want to hold this for 5 to 7 or more years and just keep letting your tenants pay down that equity, get the appreciation, get the equity play, the tax benefits. And usually around years 12 to 15, the taxable income versus what you're paying in interest and everything else kind of flips. So you just have to monitor that equation. And we'll go into that more in other podcasts. So, okay, good. So we got that, right? You want a good market with good fundamentals. Okay. 2, you want to find a product, and again, to each their own, right? But you want to find a product in an investment class that you personally would live, in my opinion. Now, I know plenty of clients that invest in, you know, what is known as C and D class, right? So D class is essentially crime-ridden, you know, high poverty, probably high unemployment, really affordable to buy the assets, but in really good cash flow numbers, but just headaches of an asset. You know, you're dealing with all sorts of, you know, pains and headaches. And if they pay your rent on time, great. If they don't, you get the victim. Good luck not getting your property destroyed in the process. And that can be true to C class as well. C class is kind of a mixed bag, but C and D class tends to be your lower quality products with lower quality tenants. Okay. You really don't want to play in that category, at least in my opinion. You know, those ROIs tend to be 3 to 6% higher, right? So if your return on investment is, let's say, 8 to 10% in a B class, it might be 12 to 18% in a C class. Well, for me, that additional 6 points, believe it or not, is not worth it. I would rather play in a better quality tenant, in a better quality product, and not deal with those headaches. In fact, I have a property in Indianapolis that I bought a long time ago, and I've had the same tenant for the entire time. Never once late on a payment. I've had one complaint over that time. It has been a fantastic investment, and you know, it's really a dream, to be honest. So, you know, those come, and when they come, keep those tenants, keep those products in those properties, you know, functioning, if you will. Okay, so market, solid fundamentals. Okay, we got that. Product, I like B class, B plus, A minus, right? So what does that mean? It means good schools, low poverty. You're probably making 7 to 9% return on your money. Not fantastic, but the appreciation is probably going to be 3 to 6% annually every year, right? You're going to have good quality tenants that have good jobs, you know. So, and I've been investing in these classes, and during COVID, I had not one late payment because they had jobs that were not impacted by COVID. They had high paying jobs. They had good paying jobs. And actually, I think some of the best paying jobs or the best jobs to have your tenants, electricians, plumbers, you know, people who are just what is known as inelastic. If there's a recession or not, and your toilet breaks, you're going to call a plumber. That's a job that's recession proof. You got to love that, right? So the point is, those sorts of tenants are just the golden tenants. You want those, you know, good paying jobs. They're working class people, but they're good people. They're going to take care of your property. They might even be handy. And so you want to be in a decent neighborhood, not the best, definitely not the worst, a decent neighborhood. I say not the best because the best is not always where people want to live. Typically in recessions, for example, A class moves to B class moves to C, C plus class, right? So everyone moves down a rank. Well, that leaves the A class exposed, right? And if you look, you know, during the recession right now, you can see that a lot of people are moving away from the luxury condos and they're moving down a little bit, or they're moving to single family homes that are cheaper, right? And so, again, I play in the B plus A minus class. Okay. So again, find your market, right? Find your product, and then get on the market and try to find deals. Okay. And when I find deals and scout for deals, I have parameters. I have a certain ROI that I want to hit. I have a certain, curb appeal. I have a certain product class and in a certain market. And if all these things work out, I pull the trigger. I don't hesitate. I pull the trigger. Because if you have predefined goals and what you're looking for, you simply come across a property. If it fits, those check boxes, you pull the trigger and you go, right? That's the kind of mechanism that you need in place. You get your market, you get what you want for your product, you begin to look, and when it hits all those check boxes, you go forward, okay? Inaction is a paralyzing variable to have in this game. If you're going to be in real estate and you're going to be someone who builds wealth, analysis paralysis and inaction will be your biggest enemy. I've seen that over and over and over. I've talked to people many times, tire kickers that just want to explore or thinking about it, but really won't do it. And they're just sitting on all this cash, never actually making moves. And it's so sad because they have such an opportunity to really grow their wealth substantially. And they know that's the right move. They just don't do it. And it drives me bananas because the opportunity is there. And nowadays with digital platforms for property management, all the information on the internet, we have so much more ability to make sound decisions than we used to have. With podcasts like these, we're teaching you lessons. So inaction and analysis paralysis are just no excuse. So point is, figure out what you want for the market, figure out the product you want, come up with your checklist of goals. And when you find something that meets that, proceed. Okay. So awesome stuff. I'm glad everyone that joined and has listened. Again, do subscribe to the channel. If you do, you're going to get all of the access to the events and the off-market deals that we have. And also, if you're interested in, beginning, we do have a masterclass on our main website, which is reiacademy.co. And, it's about 4 hours of content. It does take about a week. It's pretty intense. It's 14 lessons, all the ones that I've been teaching over the years. You get 8 tools, our market analyzer, you get a deal analyzer, all sorts of stuff. So, again, that's on our website. If you're interested, give it a look, reiacademy.co. And look forward to seeing you at the next podcast. Thanks, y'all.